This episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast was brought to you in collaboration with Mother SPF, the hydrating everyday physical sunscreen which uses only 9 sustainably sourced and certified organic ingredients. Hello and welcome to the Beauty Industry Podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Reid. Here we are closing the competitive gap and speaking your language. This is a platform created and dedicated to the professional beauty industry, valuing community over competition. We serve to help connect you with inspiration from industry experts, expand your knowledge through educational pieces, and bring you the latest in product and technology innovation. This is Beauty Industry. Today my guest is Tandia Walsh from Mother SPF. Mother SPF was born out of necessity a few years back when Tandia's mother was diagnosed with leukemia. After extensive research to help her mother reduce the amount of toxic chemicals in her skincare whilst undergoing treatment, Tandia discovered how nasty some conventional sunscreens can be and couldn't find a mineral sunscreen suitable for everyday wear. So she decided to be a boss lady, aka Daughter of the Year, and make her own. After experimenting in the kitchen and passionately studying the chemistry of ingredients and partnering with expert formulators and PhDs to develop the product to the highest performance and efficacy, she found a lab that could make it for her. And in true overnight success, 4 years in the making, we now have Mother SPF. Apart from the incredible story behind the brand and Tandia's passion to bring the product to life, Mother SPF is a unique blend of ingredients, ethics, and values that the company abides by, which clients and our professional industry are seemingly loving. From Mother SPF, today we welcome Tandia Walsh.
Hi, Tamara. Thank you very much for having me. I've been very excited about this one.
Likewise, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. We start in asking our guests how they entered into the professional beauty industry, and you've got quite a unique story because your entrance only happened really quite recently, if we can say that. So I'd love to start with you there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's through Mother SPF very much. It's the reason why I've kind of entered the beauty industry, which I'm sure we'll go into, how that all started. But I mean, I wouldn't really say it was by chance. I've always been very interested in kind of the wellness industry, not so much beauty. I don't really wear a whole lot of makeup or get my nails done, but when it comes to skincare and well-being, very much kind of always been into that. I mean, I'm also a Pilates instructor and, my mum had a dance school going up, so I've always been very active and into it. And, funnily enough, my grandpa, he had his own skincare range, or it was more hair care. So growing up, I remember running around his factory and, blowing bubbles and basically being an absolute pain. You kind of look at that now and go, yeah, okay, that kind of all makes sense how I've ended up here.
Yeah, it is so funny as sometimes what we do as kids or say as kids or even dream about as kids, I think all of that kind of soaks into our DNA. And then when we grow up, we always find this roundabout way of coming back to what we did do as a kid, which is so fascinating to me.
Yeah, no, definitely, because I actually always wanted to be a marine biologist growing up, and when I first finished high school, I studied marine biology and then got sidetracked and actually ended up in finance. And then it's funny, I guess now through Mother, I've once again gone back to kind of that science side of things as well.
Yeah, very cool. And I bet you that finance experience has definitely come in handy running a business.
So handy. Yeah, like doing all those kind of cash flow models and kind of all the boring stuff, but definitely needed, especially at the start, just to kind of give you the confidence to, look at forecasts and say, yeah, are we still going to be around in, a year? So it's definitely highly recommended just to give you that confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people in our industry go the backwards way and they go, I'm a therapist or a manager or a business owner. I want to create my own product range. And only then, when do they have somebody external come into the business and go, oh, maybe this is not profitable or this is not a smart economic move, then they go, oh, okay. But you've kind of come into it from a let's look at the finances first to make it viable, which I like.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. So tell me then about Mother. How did you get started? Why did you want to create an SPF of all products?
Yes, yeah, no, no, definitely. Out of all the products, I'm always like, why did I choose SPF? Because it's definitely the hardest. But I'm sure we'll get to that as well. But I guess the idea or concept for Mother started back in 2016, when my mum was actually diagnosed with leukemia. On a positive note, she is much better now. I mean, it was definitely a hard journey, but at the time of being diagnosed with leukemia, I guess it was kind of advised that she switched to more cleaner, natural alternatives. I think we're kind of slowly coming to this awakening that, our body does absorb whatever we're putting on it. And a lot of these ingredients haven't been tested, or more, we don't know how they interact with other ingredients or other bodily processes. And whilst undergoing chemo, I guess to stay in the safe lane, we thought, let's switch to kind of cleaner alternatives. And also, during chemo, your skin comes so sensitized as well. So all of her high-end actives were no longer, available to use, a bit like when you're pregnant. So I found that interesting. And I guess in order to help my mum, I started looking into cleaner alternatives. Previously to leukemia, she'd had a melanoma. The poor lady, not the best luck. And so I guess SPF was very much at the forefront of the investigation. But, funnily enough, I didn't know anything about SPF. I would slather myself in it, but that's about as far as it goes. So I started looking into it, came across the two types being the physical and the chemical, which today is starting to come a bit more common knowledge. But I think, especially back in 2016, no one really knew that, and started looking into it and started looking into chemical SPFs. And for me personally, there was a few red flags that I didn't like about chemical SPFs. And then there was the physical SPFs, which, they use zinc oxide, they're naturally broad spectrum, they don't have any effect on the environment, there's no health consequences of them. So that all sounds great. But yes, as I guess zinc oxide sunscreens are notoriously known for, is that, the white cast, they're so thick, and I couldn't find them anywhere. I could only really find them at health food stores, so they weren't easily accessible. And I guess, not to talk rudely, but like the packaging was still kind of this dull hippie packaging, and it didn't excite me. And I guess I was kind of under the perception that, it is 2020, we should be using clean ingredients that are also eco-friendly and that aren't having an effect on our health. And more, the packaging should still be fun, or the product should still get you excited. I was kind of using these sunscreens and going, oh, it doesn't really excite me, it doesn't really look good in my beauty cabinet. And more, yeah, they all left that really horrendous white cast, or they were so thick, it was like trying to put toothpaste all over your body. And, the ones, or the zinc oxide SPFs I could find, yeah, they were a physical SPF, but they were also filled with preservatives and silicons and emulsifiers, which are also known to be endocrine disruptors and also aren't great for our skin health. So it kind of defeats of, wearing an SPF. And basically, I guess, kind of like any startup starts, basically I had a problem. I couldn't find an SPF I was happy with, that I could cosmetically, wear to work every single day. I was in finance, as mentioned, at the time, that also had, fun packaging and didn't have all those added nasties. So basically I had my marine biology background. I've got a good understanding of science, and what very much started off as, I guess, kind of a home passion project of me kind of, mucking around with formulas at home and figuring out, what ingredients do you actually need and how do you actually bring an SPF to the market in Australia. And then basically doing lots of research to find, I guess, the best green cosmetic scientists in Australia possible. And then also partnering with a manufacturer that could produce the good. And then it wasn't till, the very end of December 2019. So basically the start of this year that the product was ready. So a good 4 years, basically. We got
Wow.
there.
Oh my goodness. I think you are daughter of the year.
Oh, thank you.
Who does that? I mean, mum has something wrong. Let's go not only find a product, but let's actually formulate it and create it. Your mum must be
Yeah,
so proud.
no, she is. She was definitely, yeah, the catalyst for it. And like I said, I always knew I wanted to be in health, and, also something that involves the environment. So I guess, yeah, she sparked that in me.
Yeah, how special. So you said there it's taken 4 years to come to market. One, how do you not lose passion for something that takes 4 years to come to life? And then two, you were saying that you were doing a lot of research. I mean, it's not easy to go and create any product. So what's actually the first thing you do? Do you get out the notepad and start writing ideas down, or do you have conversations with people around you who tell you you're crazy? What does that look like?
Definitely. I mean, what I started off, and I guess because that was what formed the problem, is I was trying all of these natural SPFs, and one was rather too oily, one was too drying, and so I was kind of then looking at all of the ingredients and seeing what they had in common, and why was that one more oily than the other. And that's very much how it started, which is why you'll kind of notice, yeah, Mother only has 9 ingredients, but by the end of it, there was only about 9 ingredients I actually liked. And the place I did yoga at actually sells zinc oxide and beeswax and all of these ingredients. So I was buying them myself and testing them out on myself. I mean, I would never advise, to do to make a homemade SPF. I mean, I did. And I can promise you today, I still actually never got burnt. Mind you, I was covered in white. And then basically, yeah, looking for a zinc oxide dispersion that can rub in completely clear. So lots of, I guess, Google in that aspect. And going through lots of publications as well and seeing different kind of studies as well. And then, yeah, finding a cosmetic scientist to work with, in which he basically kind of, yeah, provided me a lot of information on what to be looking for. So I guess that was kind of the journey. But yeah, I think I didn't realize how deep into this vortex I really was until literally 4 years later. And because I was still working full time in finance, this was like exciting to come home to. I'd be at work and, I was supposed to be working on capital raisings and things like that. When meanwhile, I'm like Googling, what are the next exciting ingredients, or how do I bring an SPF to market? And then getting home and being so excited to work on it. And then, like I said, on the weekend, I was making formulas and then testing them myself. So I was going to the beach and getting so excited. So I guess, yeah, I just didn't realize how deep into it I was. And I think it wasn't till, I was constantly going on about it to my partner, and he was just amazed, being like, you've been in finance for 5 years now, and I've never heard you mention it. And then suddenly all you can talk about is SPF and natural ingredients. Like, you have to do this. Like, I've never seen you so passionate and your eyes light up when you talk about it. Like this, yeah, you find your path, like, put the finance to bed and, yeah, go on with this.
Yeah, so special. And I guess if you stick at something without having a product for 4 years, then you are passionate about it. Whereas I feel like a lot of people just want to do something, they want to create a product, they want to own a business. But if you were to say to them, well, actually, you're not going to get anything until 4 years, then they might say otherwise. But it's lovely that
Yeah.
you had that passion within you from then.
Yeah, definitely.
So then tell me, there are really strict guidelines around creating the product, especially here in Australia. I mean, I've been over to Thailand and seen like SPF 100 and gone, what the heck is that? But here
Yeah.
in Australia, it's the highest is SPF 50. Can you talk to that process for us?
Yeah, definitely. So Australia is known to have the highest SPF testing, standards in the world. I mean, for good reason. We have the harshest climate and also the highest incidence of skin cancer. So SPF in Australia is seen as a medicine or a drug. I guess obviously it's mentioned it prevents skin cancer. So it's regulated by the Therapeutics Good Administration, which is short for the TGA. So it's definitely not like, just a moisturizer or something like that you can kind of whip together and place on the shelf. And in terms of, so for example, the US, their products over there are regulated by the FDA. And you don't need to go through any testing or anything like that. You can basically make an SPF and put it on the shelf. Quite scary. So I always advise someone that, if you're ever going to buy an SPF, just make sure it's an Australian one. they've got the TGA has a lot of restrictions. So, for example, they have only like a list of ingredients that are permitted. So, there's all these amazing indigenous ingredients that I really want to be using, but they're not allowed yet because not enough testing has happened on them. So basically, you've got a smaller pool of ingredients you can choose from. Before your product even goes to market, you have to have all of your SPF testing results. So it's quite funny. The way SPF is tested is, so basically I'd come up with my formula. I'd be really happy with it. Friends, family, everyone's tried it. It's great. I then will send it off to an SPF testing facility. In Australia, there's only one. As you can imagine, it's hot demand. So you send it off there, and the way SPF is tested is on human volunteers, which is fantastic. Thank God, no animal testing. But it's tested on human volunteers, and basically they will put it on their hand, and the hand goes under a UV light, and then you check to see how long it takes them to burn. And so the problem with that is you get a random bunch of 10 people, so obviously some are going to burn quicker than the other. And so you'll send it off, you're trying to get an SPF 30, and it will come back saying, no, it only hits an SPF 22. So you're like, okay, back to the drawing board. So therefore you'll add more zinc to achieve that higher SPF. And as mentioned, zinc oxide is a white powder. So of course, if you're increasing it, you're also increasing the chance of a white cast. You're also increasing the chance of, having that kind of gritty feeling. So therefore you then have to look at all the other ingredients and then adjust them. And then, it's very much a back and forth game. So then you go, okay, I think now it's going to hit that SPF. Let's send it off again. You send it off. Okay, it's now, a 28. You're like, okay, send it back. Or you'll send it off, and out of 9 out of those 10 people, it'll be an SPF 30, but that one person, it'll be like an SPF 28. So then you have to go back to the drawing board, and then, you finally say you get it at an SPF 30. And for example, if you want to make it water resistant, they then do that test, and it might not pass the water resistance test. Then you've got to reformulate everything again. So it's very much back and forth. And then you've got to do the broad spectrum test. And then basically, once you've finally passed all of the SPF testing, hip hooray, you then go into the stability testing. And this is the reason why SPF, I guess, really takes so long. So if I want to claim that it has a 2-year expiry, then I need to prove that by literally making the formula, letting it sit there for 2 years. And at the end of the 2 years, they'll do a test. Is it still an SPF 30? Is it still physically stable in terms of, has the formula split? Or is it still chemically stable? So is it still pH balanced? Are those active ingredients still active? Or, have they broken down over the time? So it's a lot of testing involved. And then furthermore, it has SPF in Australia has to be regulated by a TGA licensed manufacturer. So there's not actually many, and I think that's because a lot of the manufacturers don't want to have to deal with this. So you've got to then find a TGA manufacturer as well, and they also need to be good manufacturing practice certified as well. So they need to have all these different certificates, and then you need to do like a pilot study through them. So it's a long journey, definitely worth the wait.
Oh my goodness.
So that's why you'll find as well, like there's so many international brands that, you'll see overseas that they have all of, that brand has an SPF. So for example, Drunk Elephant, that has a physical SPF, and, people are always like, oh, why is it not in Australia? And for that brand to, remanufacture, so to make it approved for our SPF conditions, it would basically have to completely reformulate, and it's just too expensive for them, so they won't do it.
Right.
I always tell people that the way you know that it's an Australian SPF is, obviously they can say made in Australia, but it should have an OSTL number on the front, which is literally just AUST and then followed by 6 numbers. And that means it's actually listed with the TGA. And, you can search that brand on Google and it should be listed on the TGA. So that's what I want to tell people, to look out for, is that OSTL number.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. Who knew? That's crazy about the 2 years literally leaving it on a shelf for that long. No wonder it's taken so long.
So you can do accelerated testing, which basically means for 6 months, the temperature will be accelerated, and that can get you the 2-year expiry. So there's a shorter way of doing that. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to actually, wait the 2 years to see to make sure it's still 100%. So there's definitely ways you can shortcut it, which I wasn't interested in. Like I said, if you're spending so much time and money on this product, you want it to be 100%, and you want to have confidence. If I'm recommending this product to my friends or their kids, like I want to know they're in safe hands, especially, the idea of a baby burning or something like that. And so with Mother as well, we've actually got the formula tested at 3 different SPF testing facilities, because you can rely on that one, but like I said, you'll get those 10 human volunteers, and we might have got lucky and had 10 people that, have more melanin in the skin and don't burn as quickly. So we made sure we actually got Mother tested at 3 different SPF testing facilities.
Good on you guys. You've crossed all your T's and dotted all your
Yeah.
I's. This is so special. So then tell me about, you were saying before, obviously the use of chemicals while your mum's going through chemo, and the absorption rate, and obviously, the harm to the earth and things like that. In terms of, there's a really hot debate, chemical versus physical, and everybody's got their own opinion, but I'm just interested to find out what your insights have been as you've kind of traveled along this pathway.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, still nothing's, I guess, been proven. So I guess take this with a grain of salt, but there's also enough studies out there to, make you think twice about slathering on these products. And more, there's an amazing alternative being a physical SPF. So why are we still kind of going down this, eerie waters with ones, that we are finding kind of negative results from? So as mentioned, the way a chemical SPF works is, you apply it on your skin, it therefore absorbs into your skin, it undergoes a chemical reaction, and it releases that UV energy as heat. So a few problems, as mentioned, it's absorbed into your bloodstream, which we are now finding that it's absorbed at, dangerous levels. And, these chemical active ingredients are being found in breast cancers, brain tumors, and you kind of wonder, how on earth did they get there? So that was kind of the first thing. And I guess, they're also linked to being endocrine disruptors. Once again, nothing's 100% been proved, but there's enough studies. And, I'm still young, and I'm a while of having kids, but just the idea of slathering something on my body that has the opportunity to mimic my hormones absolutely terrified me, to be honest. Or, something that can mess with my thyroid as well. The idea. So that was kind of like my urge with Mother. I was like, I have to make something that's natural and good so that by the time I have kids, I have an option for them, because there's no way in hell I'm putting any of this on my child. And, I grew up in Broome and very much grew up in the ocean and the beach, and I want my kids to be able to have that lifestyle, which kind of then leads me to the next problem, is that these chemical active ingredients we are finding out are having an effect on the coral. So they're basically bleaching the coral, which is leaving them susceptible to disease and then obviously eventually death. They're also changing the DNA in the coral, which you kind of, I guess, beg to wonder, that vast amount of ocean, if that's having the effect on the coral, what's it doing to us? And so I think that really kind of drove my passion, especially with my marine biology background. You look at, for example, Hawaii, so that's completely banned 2 main chemical active ingredients because they know it is completely destroying the coral. We've got the most amazing Great Barrier Reef here. I think we should be kind of, paying a little bit more attention to reef-friendly options. And then the third thing, which I think gets overlooked, is that a lot of the active ingredients in chemical SPFs are not considered photostable. So that's basically science talk for they don't break down in the presence of sunlight. So zinc oxide is fantastic. It's 100% photostable. It never ever breaks down. It's also naturally broad spectrum, so it's protecting you from the entire solar spectrum. In contrast to a chemical SPF, so there's not actually one chemical active ingredient that works at protecting you from both UVA and UVB, which is why you'll notice in a chemical sunscreen that if you look on the back, there's normally about 4 or 5 actives, because one active might protect you from UVA and the other will protect you from UVB. And there's only a few ingredients that protect you from UVA. So, for example, one of them is ababenzone. It's the most popular. And that's shown to break down in the presence of sunlight within as little as 30 minutes. So, you're putting on your SPF and then you walk out into the sunlight and, how good is your SPF at protecting you when it's breaking down? And that's the reason why we're advised to, reapply our SPF every 2 hours, because you kind of need to top up those chemicals. So I'm always like to someone, if you're using a chemical SPF, it's great, that means you're using sun care, but just be really diligent with, reapplying. And also, when these ingredients break down, they're also generating free radical damage, which we also know is another form of premature aging. So I don't know, to me personally, I kind of found the irony of, I'm wearing SPF, I'm trying to do a good deed, but then I'm finding out these ingredients are breaking down, they're causing free radical damage, they're not great for my health, and they're not great for the environment. In contrast to, zinc oxide, it's been around for centuries, and that's the reason why I love it. There's so many studies on it. It's the number one ingredient in diaper rash cream. So I'm like, if you can use it on a baby's bottom, then, it's pretty safe to be using on your face. It doesn't cause heat within the skin. It simply forms that barrier on top of your skin. So it's kind of like wearing, I guess, a protective layer of clothing for the day. And that's why they're so great for sensitive skin, because they're not interacting with your skin, and they're such a high anti-inflammatory ingredient. So, with Mother, even if I'm sitting inside, I'm not even near a window, I'll still be slathering Mother all over my face, because I'm getting those anti-inflammatory, soothing ingredients as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of why, I guess physical SPF is very much my choice.
Yes. Well, it makes so much sense. And everything you're saying there, I'm just thinking as you're talking, consumers don't know this. Clients don't know this, and only upon if we go back to the start, you were a consumer, you were a client, right? And you've had to do all of this research to find this out. And now you've got these informed decisions to go forward and actually make the purchasing decision and put what you want and you believe on your face. And I guess this is why this podcast exists in its entirety, so that we can educate our therapist so that they can then go and educate their clients, because this is stuff that clients need to know about and people in general need to know about. You are cruelty free, as we were talking about before, with the coral, which is beautiful, and also vegan. But one thing that's really interested me about Mother, the actual product itself, is the plant-based aspect, which you kind of don't think, how can we marry SPF and plant-based together? So can you talk to the product in terms of that aspect?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess our main mission of Mother SPF is to get as many people as possible wearing a clean mineral SPF that's also great for themselves and their environment. So in order to do that, we wanted to make sure that we were available to everyone, including obviously, vegans, and that basically no one has any excuses as to why they're not wearing Mother SPF. And so we use a vegan alternative called Candela wax. It's actually from a shrub in Mexico. It's actually a desert shrub. So that's the reason why I love it, because it has all these amazing, it's had to adapt over there to the harsh climate, so it suits Australia perfectly. It has the exact same properties as beeswax in terms of the melting point. It's literally just the vegan alternative. And also what was really important for Mother is I wanted to look at, the whole kind of supply chain and the whole ecosystem. So don't get me wrong, there's the most amazing benefits in honey and, obviously beeswax. But, people, I guess, also forget that bees are extremely vital to us in terms of cross-pollination and providing that diversity of plants. So, a lot of bees different types of species are going extinct. And that's just something that, I didn't want to, I guess, add to or cause any harm to the bees. Because like I said, if we lose the bees, then there's no cross-pollination and we essentially, wipe out the human race. And once again, when there's an amazing alternative available and it doesn't cause any harm, why wouldn't you pick that? Same with the zinc oxide, why wouldn't you pick that?
Yeah, it makes so much sense now. You have developed quite the range, which is becoming pretty popular in some of our most well-known clinics in the professional beauty industry. I mean, Dr. Clara Hurst over there in Perth in Blank, and Carmen, the Skin Fairy as well, which, lots of our industry look up to these ladies. How did you go about actually entering the product into the professional beauty space? Because it's always interesting to me that people don't just go down the consumer space, which is much easier than trying to go professional. So how did those relationships form?
Yeah, it's actually quite funny, because when, I first decided to kind of launch Mother to the market, skin clinics was never actually kind of at my foresight. I always thought it'd be kind of wellness stores and lifestyle stores, or, you know, kind of targeting family friendly. But then now it just makes so much sense, you know, being in skin clinics, especially because these days, you know, skin needling, all these treatments are so popular and, you know, they're amazing, but they also, of course, leave the skin so raw straight after. So, you know, the idea of then putting on a chemical SPF, which is, you know, straight away absorbed into your skin, but it's also irritating your skin, you know, it kind of makes sense as to why wouldn't they be using a physical SPF. So it kind of all happened by chance. Very lucky to have already previously known Clara, just from this same, growing up in the same area. And then the Skin Fairy, I had been following Carmen for years and thought she was just such an, you know, inspiration. It's funny, I had tried to book in with her so many times that she always has such a long wait list. You know, she's in high demand, and me just being too impatient was like, oh, no, I'm not going. And regrets now. And so she actually just went and brought Mother SPF from one of the stores we sell at in Cottesloe, and then got in touch with us. You know, she'd been using it, I think, for 6 months or something like that, which is what I really appreciate as well. You know, she's been testing it out on herself and on her baby for a long period, and then basically got in touch with us. And then we kind of realised from that, yeah, actually it makes sense to be selling in skin clinics.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, good on you. I'm so excited. And congratulations for being launched a year. What a year to have launched a product into.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, when COVID first hit, I was extremely worried because, you know, we're going into winter, no one's going to be traveling. And I mean, you know, we know that you should still be wearing SPF 365 days a year, but still a lot of people think it's only a summer product. So, well, yeah, we're heading into Perth winter. And I was like, oh, we're really in trouble here. But if anything, I think COVID's worked in our favour. So, you know, of course, the brand uses all natural ingredients and, you know, they're certified organic, but all of our packaging is extremely sustainable. So, you know, our tubes are made out of the plastic that normally ends up in landfill. So we're not adding any more plastic to the environment. You know, all the tubes come in certified organic little cotton bags. We use biodegradable and compostable mailing bags. We're completely manufactured in Australia with 100% solar power. And I think if anything, COVID's kind of made people want to support local more, and especially, you know, buy Australian-made products. And as well, you know, I think COVID, the one blessing was that a lot of people got to slow down and focus on themselves and kind of had that self-care. I mean, I noticed all my money started going to more skincare and things like that, because I realized that's truly what makes me happy. So I think that's actually kind of worked in Mother's favour, that people, you know, want to buy good quality, you know, some skincare, and, you know, be supporting Australian and choosing eco-friendly goods. So if anything, I think, yeah, it kind of worked in our favour.
Yeah, and what a very cool story as well. I mean, launching a brand new product that's taken 4 years, and now you launch straight into a pandemic, and you are just hitting the ceiling, or the glass ceiling, and pushing past that, which I absolutely love. Hey, Tandia, I'd love to ask you one final question. What do you envision for Mother? I mean, are we adding any more SKUs into the range? I mean, 3 to 5 years, what do you hope this business turns out to be?
Yeah, definitely. So it's funny when we first launched, you know, so many people are like, why do you only have the one product? And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? This one product took forever. So we do have 3 other products currently in development. They should have been out by now, but because of COVID, of course, we've had delays. You know, our SPF testing facility in Australia was closed over that time, and now it's got a massive backlog of brands. And like I said, we're just in no rush. We prefer to take the time just to get it, you know, 100%. They're both face products. I won't go into too much more detail, but they're definitely changing the way we think about SPF. You know, they're very lightweight and cosmetically elegant. You know, they don't feel like a physical SPF in the slightest. So they will be, coming out hopefully within the next 6 months in a tinted version as well, which has been highly requested. But definitely at the moment, for the next 5 years, staying SPF focused. Obviously, I think that's where my passion lies. You know, I'm very much interested in skincare, but I think you should intertwine the two. You know, it makes it easier for someone to wear SPF. For some people who don't want to wear it, then it's like, oh, yeah, but you're also getting the antioxidants, and it's, you know, also helping your skin health. So definitely focusing on SPF, but we might bring out a moisturizer, but that will be an SPF focused. Or I think as further branching from SPF would be, an after sun product, but definitely staying, just SPF focused, where I guess the passion lies.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I wish you all the best in your success and can't wait to watch what's next for you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me today, Tamara.
Thank you so much for featuring. Honestly, Tandia wins Daughter of the Year. What a special human. A super interesting topic for you all today that I am sure you have enjoyed listening to. As Mother SPF is such a special product, being that it's organic, vegan, sustainably sourced and earth-friendly, there's something for every single client of yours to love in this product. If you're interested in becoming a stockist of the brand, you can find out how to do so by emailing info@motherspf.com to chat to Tandia and the team. We are going to have more follow-up episodes on the educational side of SPF shortly, as per all of your questions, thoughts and queries about SPF in our Facebook community recently, so be sure to tune into those when they pop into your podcast feed, or if you feel like it, you can subscribe in your podcast channel to be notified as soon as those episodes drop. To keep up with new products that Tandia mentioned, you'll find them over on the gram at Mother SPF, me of course at Tamara Reed Beauty, and us at Beauty Industry. Until next time, stay connected.